advice for a student of knowledge who's going to the faculty of hadith. I'll give you one piece of advice, inshallah. What some of the people of the past would say: هذا الشأن لمن لا شأن له إلا هذا الشأن. هذا الشأن لمن لا شأن له إلا هذا الشأن. You can't have no other life except for hadith. You understand? Imam Malik rahimahullah, he says, من أهمه غسل ثوبه وشبع بطنه. He says, he who's worried about stains on his clothes or what food he eats, لا يصلح لهذا الشأن. He can't be a hadith disciple. So if you're worried about what you look like and how pretty and handsome you are and the quality and this and that, go to Sharia or Da'wah or Lugha. But if you want to go to the students of college of hadith and you want to be good and you want to exploit your potential to be special, you can't care about nothing but reaching the top. Next question. Fadal.
Have you got any extra advice for us brothers in the UK?
Extra advice, just general advice? Tayyib. The advice to the brothers in the UK is advice that wherever we go in the world, of course, was with the taqwa of Allah, but it's just what we read. إِذَا وَقَعَتِ الْفِتْنَةِ فَادْفَعُوهَا بِالتَّقْوَى. When fitna takes place, put it out with what? Taqwa. That's my advice. It's for everyone to be mindful of what are we doing and why are we doing it and what's the end game. How are we going to be in 10 or 20 or 30 years? What's going to happen to us if we keep doing this or we keep doing that? That's my advice, is to be mindful of that. Wallahu alam. Any other questions? Fadl ya akhi.
What advice would you give to someone to uphold the two principles of Iman and Ramadan so he doesn't lose focus?
Keep reading the books of Ibn al-Qayyim. Question, how to keep those two principles, not losing focus? Keep your nose in Ibn al-Qayyim's library. Next question. Fadl.
If it's difficult for somebody or their circumstances don't allow for them to go abroad to seek knowledge, or they really want to reach a high advanced states in knowledge, is it possible for them to, listen to, for example, Sharh of Abu Dawood or Al-Bukhari?
Clear. Is this a real life question or hypothetical? Someone who's in the UK that can't travel, or if you don't go overseas? Which of the two?
They can't travel because
They can't travel. Clear. Okay. There's a huge difference between the two. The reason why I asked him that is if there's a brother who can go, he shouldn't ask about what if I can't go. That's the purpose. You cross that bridge when you get there. And many people, they're not as hungry and aggressive because they know that they have the what? A backup plan in life. They say you need something to fall back on. No, I don't. Everyone understand this? When you're climbing a mountain and you know that you have on a supportive brace, it's not the same as when you have on what? No supportive brace. If I slip, class. So therefore, it's no way that I can what? Slip. Everyone understand the mentality here? There is no if I don't make it to Medina. No, I'm what? Going to Medina. Bi-idhnillah. Alright? As far as someone who actually cannot go overseas, can they listen to Abu Dawood in this book? There's no doubt about it that you can be a serious student of knowledge by listening to recordings. And Shaykh ibn Uthaymin, rahimahullah ta'ala, he mentioned this in Kitab al-Ilm and in other places, that a person can be a real student of knowledge with tapes. This is back in the tape era, the Stone Age. Some of you brothers may not know what a tape is, a cassette tape. Before the iPod or MP3 or this, there was actual cassette tape. Everyone understand this? That we had, you listened to tapes. So you can be a serious student of knowledge just through audio. And you can learn, you can memorize, you can study, you can test yourself, you can evaluate yourself. And if you're a lover of the sunnah and its sciences, subhanAllah, there's a world of ilm out there on the internet. And don't think that all of the knowledge of hadith you get from your sheikh or your teacher. That's not true. When I was in Medina, I got, alhamdulillah, I'll say this boasting, bragging of Allah's favor upon me, countless knowledge from scholars that I never ever met. Never saw them a day in my life. They died when I was in high school, and I learned from them every single day and learned hadith from them. Scholars that are alive today in different cities, Riyadh or Qasim or Kuwait, that I never saw. I benefited from them and I learned a great deal of what? Hadith and other sciences as well. So it's all about what you want to do. It's out there, but you just have to have the will to what? To do it. Wallahu alam. Fadal ya akhi. طيب.
I want to ask any advice in regards to Muslim trusting his instincts, especially in a time where Muslims and non-Muslims they tend to talk a lot and give a lot of advice on Muslim having himself until maybe.
Type with regards to trusting your instincts, there's nothing wrong with that. To trust your instincts, to have your intuition. The hadith says, "Istafti qalbaka." Ask your heart. There's nothing wrong with that. Allah Azza wa Jalla has given the human being a strong ability to think and to discern, and most importantly, to feel. But whose intuition and instincts? All men don't have the same instincts. Some are stronger than others, some are sharper than others. And most importantly, the Prophet ﷺ, he tells us towards the end of time that the believer's dream will not be mistaken. Towards the end of time, the dream of the believer will be accurate. And he says, وَإِنَّ أَصْدَقُهُمْ رُؤْيَا أَصْدَقُهُمْ حَيَةً. And those who have the most truthful dreams are those who are the most truthful when they're awake. The more you're truthful when you're awake, the truer your dream will be when you're what? Asleep. So the more you live true, or truly, or truthfully, the wiser you are, the smarter you are, the more real of a person you are, the sharper and the stronger your what? Your gut feeling will be. Your instincts will be, huh? And Allah knows best. Recommend any books to learn Hanbali madhab. طيب. Of course, there are many books to learn on a Hanbali madhab. It depends on what level of study you're upon. You're a beginner, you're intermediate, or you're advanced. If you're a beginner, then of course there is a dalil, مثلا there is Zad, of course, أخصر المختصرات on an even lower level, الروض المربع, famous. If you're on a higher level, then there are bigger books, كشاف القناع مثلا, Al-Kafi مثلا. If you're on an even higher level than that, then of course you have the Mughni, you have the Insaf, Asharh al-Kabir, let alone the actual Masail of Imam Ahmed. Alright? So it depends on what level you're upon with regards to studying the deen and fiqh. And I've mentioned, hopefully, at least one book on each of those three levels. Beginning, middle, advanced. Wallahu alam. Questions from the sisters. What would you advise me, parents of a boy over 20-year-old who prays 5 times a day but does not obey his parents, like is rude to them and shouts at them, and also does not respect his siblings, swears to them, etc. I advise you to be patient with him and to find someone that can speak to him on his frequency. Everyone has ears, but we have different frequencies. Some people are more effective at talking to people than others. He may not listen to you, but he may listen to him. He may not be afraid of you when you try to discipline him, but he'll be what? Afraid of someone else, whether it's a man, a woman, a friend, someone who's threatening him. He feels that no one understands him. He feels neglected, etc. There has to be a thumbscrew. It has to be a thumbscrew in which you can twist and move the child's ears and eyes in his mind. Maybe it's not you. Maybe you have a past with the child. Maybe there's an issue that you have. Maybe he's afraid. Maybe he's scared. Maybe he needs to be a man. Maybe he needs someone who's bigger than him or whatever. Find out why he's like this. And once you find that out, inshallah ta'ala, focus your energy and your effort in trying to talk to that young man and getting him to do the right thing. And everyone has a frequency. Wallahu a'lam. And make dua for him as well. Next question. Tayyib. What is the ruling on a female reading and memorizing the Quran while menstruating? Inshallah ta'ala, there's nothing wrong with that. Bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, is nothing wrong with that. As was the opinion of many great ulama of al-Islam. And Allah knows best. That's in brief. How do you strengthen your memory? By memorizing. Is there a reward for fasting if you go to Jannah? Yes. Fasting is a good deed that leads to paradise in general, let alone the fact that there is a special gate for those who are abundant in their fasts. Those who make fast all of the time, there's a special gate for them. Rayyan. Now the brothers may think, not in a negative way, when I say the best way of memorizing is to memorize, how to get better memories to memorize. I'm not trying to be funny, I'm not trying to make a joke, but it's serious. Oftentimes you have too much strategy. You have too many tactics, too many inspirational books. Shinqiti, this one, Ashanatika, Fulan, Kada, raisins, dates, honey, Fulan, this mountain in Yemen, and Kada. Memorize yourself. Ihfadh. That's it. Practice makes perfect. The journey of 1,000 miles is began with one footstep. The best way to increase your memory, to get a better memory, is to actually what? Start memorizing. Push yourself, exert yourself, and then you'll find out that this is a mistake, and I can eat this, and I can go to this country, and I can sit with these people. But people, they become bewildered. We're hearing these romantic stories of Fulan will repeat one hadith 1,000 times. Do you have the time for that? Is that practical? Just memorize. What you can retain, alhamdulillah. What you can't retain, alhamdulillah. That's it. It's just that simple. Don't think about, just do it. I want to memorize this, but I can't. Just what? Memorize. Everyone understand this? That's why I said that. It's a very, very important concept of Hadith Disciple school method. Is not to overthink things, but to what? Do them. Next question. Are there more pros than cons when it comes to a sister traveling for Islamic studies? Example, Egypt for a year. It depends on the sister. If you want to be a student of knowledge, a female student of knowledge, travel. There are pros and cons in everything that you do in life. Nothing comes without a cost, and nothing in this world comes for free. If you want to get knowledge, you have to give yourself to knowledge. And it's one of the first things I heard when I went to Medina in 2002 when I was 18 years old, and I was not in the University of Medina. My mentor, my friend, Brother Musa, may Allah protect him and bless him and reward him on my behalf. He told me one night we were in a car outside of the apartment building. He was speaking to someone else, but I was also, listening too. He told us something that he heard from his teachers. Al-ilmu in a'taytahu kullaka. Knowledge, if you give all of yourself to it, yu'tika ba'dahu. It will give part of it to you. If you give 100%, you may get 5%. If you give 110% to ilm, you may get 20%. You have to devote yourself to it to get some of knowledge. So you have to sacrifice. If you're not willing to go through some suffering, pay for some money, argue with some people, have some people talk about you, you're unworthy to be an heir of the Prophet. You don't deserve that inheritance if you're not willing to pay for it and suffer for it a little bit. And Allah knows best. Assalamu alaikum. If we have asked Allah for repentance of a sin, will we still be questioned for it on the day of judgment? That is an issue of which the ulama have a long discussion with regards to tawbah and istighfar. If you've made tawbah, you've made istighfar, and it was done successfully, it was successful tawbah, successful istighfar, you were honest, you did it properly, will the sin be removed from your scale and you're not punished? Or will the sin remain in your scale and you will be punished? The believers, and with regards to the mizan, what is weighed? The non-believers, are their good deeds weighed as well, or just their bad deeds? Is the believer weighed himself and the deeds? And the concept of seeing, what does Allah says? فَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ Allah says what? ذَرَّةٍ شَرًا يَرَهُ. So the concept of he who does any good or bad, he'll see it. So there are details with regards to this. The details. Will you see it? Will you be questioned about it even though you weren't? You're not going to be punished for it? Inshallah ta'ala, make the tawbah, make the istighfar, do it the proper way, and bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, you won't have no worry. La khawfun alayhim wa la hum yahzanun. Inshallah ta'ala. Wallahu a'lam. And this is one of the interpretations of those ayat. Inna alladhina qalu rabbuna Allah, those who say that their Lord is Allah, and then they make istiqamah, they will receive many, many rewards. فَلَا خَوْفٌ عَلَيْهِمْ وَلَا هُمْ يَحْزَنُونَ هَا تَتَنَزُّلُ عَلَيْهِمُ الْمَلَائِكَةُ أَلَّا تَخَافُوا وَلَا تَحْزَنُوا. Mujahid, Qatada, others from the Salaf al-Salih, they would say, أَلَّا تَخَافُوا, don't fear the hereafter, that Allah won't accept your good deeds. وَلَا تَحْزَنُوا, and don't be saddened about the past, that Allah will not forgive you of your sins. So the only thing you need to do is make tawbah, make istighfar, be righteous, and inshallah you won't have to worry about that. Bi-idhnillah. What happens when you don't make up the days you have missed in Ramadan and Ramadan comes? It depends why. Did you have an excuse or you didn't have an excuse? If you didn't have an excuse and you just disregarded it and you didn't care and you were nonchalant, then that proves that there's some type of disrespect or lack of respect that you have. You have lack of respect. For you to know that Ramadan is obligatory and you didn't try your best to make it up before the next Ramadan, something's wrong. If you did have an excuse, then that's a different story. Wallahu alam. When are you not allowed to fast? You're not allowed to fast in a situation in which you have a major obligation that cannot be delayed. A major obligation that you have to do right now. And that obligation is bigger than you. It's for the protection of Islam. For the protection of the people as a whole. You have to do it right now. That's one thing. Or you can't fast when it's a harm to your body. It harms your health. Or severe medical advice says you need to recover. You need 2 months of healthy eating to get back, to gain the weight that you lost through the sickness or the illness, etc. And in situations like this, how does one balance family? We ran out of time, Sheikh? Play it. Fadl.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Hayya ala salam. حي على السلام حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
Also, the concept of fasting is going to harm your child if you're pregnant or if you're breastfeeding and situations like this. Wallahu alam. How does one balance between family, kids, and becoming a student of knowledge? You can't and you don't. As I said to the brother, you got to focus on one thing. You want to seek knowledge, you want to do this, you want to have this successful career, too much on your plate. You have to focus on one thing, being a student of knowledge. And when you want to embark upon a path of seeking knowledge, and if you want to be, like I said, great and have excellence, nothing matters except for seeking knowledge, period. That's the mentality that you have to have. And if you don't have that hunger and that mentality, then it's no way that you can be great. You can be good, you can be mediocre, you can be average, but you can't be great. And that's every other profession in life. Every single other profession in life. There's no one who was great in Islam or outside of Islam, except that was the only thing that mattered. And everything else was secondary. Let alone the fact that if you're being a serious talib al-ilm, that's going to make you a better husband, a better wife, a better this and a better that. But sacrifice is needed, brothers. And it's the last thing I want to say about that. I've said it many times before, in the UK and outside of the UK, seeking knowledge is not a game. It's not a joke. It's not a club. It's not a sport. It is a life sacrifice. And there are going to be many people who want to disagree with you and say this and be this and why don't you visit us and kada and kada and kada. You have to pick what means the most to you. Wallahu alam. طيب Shu'bah ibn al-Hajjaj, what would he used to say? He said, إن هذا الحديث لا يصد عن ذكر الله وعن الصلاة وعن صلة الأرحام فهل أنتم منتهون. That's what Amir al-Mu'mineen fil hadith used to say. إن هذا الحديث لا يصد عن ذكر الله وعن الصلاة وعن صلة الأرحام فهل أنتم منتهون. That's what Shu'bah would say. He says this hadith, this culture of hadith hinders you from the dhikr of Allah, from prayer, and from keeping good relations with your family. Did Shu'bah rahimahullah, did he mean that you won't never make the dhikr of Allah? No, that's not what he meant. Did he mean that you don't pray, you don't make extra prayers? That's not what he meant. Did he mean to disrespect your family and cut them off? No, that's not what he meant. What he meant is that there are subrogatory acts and types of dhikr, and spending all of the time with your family, being a normal person, is impossible for someone who is a what? True student of hadith. And then he said to his students, like it says in the Quran, فَهَلْ أَنْتُمْ مُنْتَهُونَ. He says, will you continue to seek hadith now? Or will you quit? You understand this? فهمنا الآية؟ فَهَلْ أَنْتُمْ مُنْتَهُونَ. So that's the reality of hadith in general, let alone the reality of what hadith. Az-Zuhri rahimahullah ta'ala, when he would sit in his study and he would have his books laid out on the floor all around him, his wife would come up to him and she said to him, or she would say to him, إِنَّ هَذِهِ الْكُتُبِ أَشَدُّ عَلَيَّ مِنْ ثَلَاثِ ضَرَائِرِ. She says, these books that you have are worse than 3 co-wives. These books in front of you do more damage to me than 3 other women that you could be married to. Meaning that he had to be dedicated and devoted to his what? His hadith, his studies. And he may not necessarily be the best husband and give the most time as a bread maker or a basket weaver. He comes home from work and he goes what? Right to his wife. Hadith student, up in the morning, late at night, hadith, hadathana, akhbarana. It's different. If that's the lifestyle that you want to lead, then you have to what? You have to pick. But you can't have what? You can't have both. If you want to be great, I said. Average, mediocre, different story. But if you want to be Amir al-Mu'mineen, you have to deserve that. And Allah knows best. How can we as Muslim parents raise our children living in a country that is a non-Muslim and their great fitna, such as today's challenge of questioning gender, LGBT, etc., is make dua. Make dua to Allah Azza wa Jal for guidance and for firmness. And ask Allah Azza wa Jal to inspire you. Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give you the sabr. Alright, that's first and foremost. Secondly is, realize that every disadvantage, there's also going to be an advantage. When there are disadvantages, there are advantages. Allah Azza wa Jal is just. He oppresses no one. And if He gives the people one thing, He gives another people another thing. So look at the good that you do have in the United Kingdom. Look at the virtue that you do have in the United Kingdom that you don't have in other places. We were eating lunch up the steps. And the brother, he said that the best country for Muslims in Europe, in my opinion, is the United Kingdom. Better than France, better than Switzerland, better than so on and so on and so on and so forth. That's what he said. So look at the other countries, Germany, Italy, look at the things that they don't have. But you do have what how many Muslims are here? How many masjids are here? How many scholars and students of knowledge are here? How many halal places are here? The Birmingham bookstore that we went to the other day, a place like that in America? Forget about it. What you say in Brooklyn, what? Forget about it, There's no bookstore like that I've seen anywhere on the East Coast. And I've been to many bookstores in America, full of Arabic books. So there are advantages that you have. Think about that. And then think about places that don't have those advantages. So utilize what Allah has given you. And the grass is never greener on the other side. The grass is never greener on the other side. Make hijrah, take your children to this place. It's a virtue, it's a benefit, but there are many other disadvantages, as well. I believe we've run out of time. Maybe some people are complaining or grumpy or disgruntled about the salah. So I shall speak no more. Walhamdulillah.
Jazakallah khair, Sheikh. We thank him, may Allah bless him and everyone who supported him to be here today, inshallah. While we wrap up, we'll him after the salah. We're still collecting, inshallah, for the waqf for the masjid. So please donate generously. Inshallah, we ask Allah to bring the Sheikh back again in future, bi'idhnillah kareem. And if there's anything that we've